rich rolling hills north of Bear Lake, there's a thriving ranch operation. Part cattle, mostly sheep. That's where you'll find this district's Woman of the Year.
I'm Karen Matthews, and I'm married to Kevin. We've been married for 36 years. I grew up in the city but met this wonderful farm boy and married him, and it was hard to adjust to being on the farm, but now I wouldn't go back. So we've been here for 36 years.
That's right, 3 decades of wedded bliss. The Matthews have farmed and ranched here for 5 generations.
And we've had sheep forever. That's just been a family, like the Matthews brothers have had sheep, and we've got sheep, and now we're trying a new venture of beef. So you can see some of our beef cows in the background, and we're starting small, but our herds are starting to increase and learning the ropes of having beef versus dairy. So we've got 4 kids, and we have 5 grandkids that are just so dear to us. That's one of the lights of our lives, is having these little kids.
Karen taught special ed for 20 years. That's when she discovered mentoring, and it changed her life.
So I'm starting to make that into a business now, where I mentor other people. My daughter and I have done some groups online and mentored mostly women, sometimes a few men join.
Karen now does public speaking, and she's produced a DVD to help people in troubled relationships, and husband Kevin helps, just as Karen helps on the growing ranch operation.
Now she's what I'd consider a total country wife. She helps me in all aspects of the farming, even when I have to do some veterinary work.
Karen's always been around Farm Bureau.
When we were very first married, we got asked to be on the Farm Bureau board, and so we did that for at least 2 years, and I was the women's chairman and took care of a lot of organizing different events.
She says one thing's for sure, she's seen it firsthand that Farm Bureau works for farmers. That's why she belongs.
And I know from experience, because city people do not understand farming. They don't understand that we're feeding the world and that we need as much support as possible to support them. So it's really about everybody, and I so appreciate the Farm Bureau for doing that.
Karen Matthews, District 1, Woman of the Year.
Stephanie Mickelson. I farm with my husband Mark and our sons. I am the CFO for Mickelson Farms. My job includes all the financial records, the interaction with the accountants, the interaction with the bankers. I'm also the risk manager for the entire operation. Take care of the HR stuff. Have a pretty wide depth of things that I do for our operation. And we have a diversified row crop operation. We farm from Blackfoot clear to the Idaho-Montana border up in Ashton, and have a seed operation, have a potato packing shed, and a potato processing facility. Between our 3 businesses, we employ probably between 250 and 300 people.
Stephanie and husband Mark have 4 children and have been a part of the Farm Bureau family for decades. From County Women's Committee Chair to County President and member of State Resolutions Committee, and now serving on the state board, this lady has always answered the Farm Bureau call.
You know, it's been a great experience to be a member of Farm Bureau, to be active in the activities of the Farm Bureau Federation. I think the biggest passion for me in Farm Bureau has been the policy development side of Farm Bureau, where we interact with legislators, we create policy, we try to see that policy passed into law and to legislation. Because of that activity, I've learned to be a real advocate for Farm Bureau and an advocate for agriculture specifically. I think that was one of the hardest things for me when I left to be on the state board, was leaving behind my resolutions committee responsibilities. I think of all the things I've done in Farm Bureau, that has to be the most rewarding for me.
This summer, Mickelson took on a new role as a board trustee of the new College of Eastern Idaho.
The way that I see the community college benefiting agriculture is we are developing programs within our community colleges that fit the type of employers we have within our area.
Stephanie says family always comes first, and being known as an American farmer makes her proud.
Yeah, I am fine with that. I am a farmer, and I love it when we travel and they'll say, what do? You know, you're talking to people from other countries or whatever, and then I'll say, well, we're potato farmers from Idaho. And they're saying, like, really? Are you really a potato farmer from Idaho? And we say, yeah, we're really potato farmers from Idaho. And I couldn't be prouder. When you really think about farmers and the kind of people that they are, farmers are just the salt of the earth. They're good people. They generally don't want to hurt or harm other people. They're not cutthroat. They generally just want to go out. They want to raise their crop. They want to sell it for a price so that they can continue to stay in business the next year. And so for me, being a farmer is a badge of honor.
Stephanie Mickelson, District 2 Woman of the Year.
East of Rupert, on an 80-acre ranch, you'll find longtime rancher and Woman of the Year.
I'm Carlene Clavel. We have lived here, my husband Earl and I have lived here on this farm for 41 years. Anyway, we've been married a long time, and we have a cattle and farm operation.
The Clavel place is the center of their ranch operation and the family's living, breathing museum, all of which is lovingly parked out back.
I don't know, we've just collected them, and Earl has bought them, and this was Earl's dad's tractor he bought new, and so we bought it from him, and just these things we've just collected and used them originally, and when they're tired, they get just parked somewhere.
Carlene has been ranching a long time, and husband Earl says she's the real deal.
Was she a city girl or was she country?
She's country all the way. She was born and raised on a farm, so she has been participating in farm type activities with young folks forever.
Earl says they still run 120 head of cattle on 2,000 acres, and they put up their own hay.
And then we also have to buy some usually because we have quite a few cattle, and they're right now up on the ranch. And as the winter gets closer here, they move them down further because it's a lot of work to feed that many cattle here.
Carlene has worked with Job's daughter since she was 13 and has dedicated her life to helping others.
Yeah, because I think it's very important to give back. And if you can do anything for these kids and help them to grow into good adults, I think it's really important to do. And community-wise, I've been involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I do Relief for Life for the American Cancer Society.
The longtime rancher says that Farm Bureau is needed now more than ever.
You got to have them. Any kind of anybody that'll try to keep the government from putting regulations on things that shouldn't be. You really have to have somebody advocate for you, because the farmers are busy trying to make a living, and so it's really important to have someone that's got your best interest at heart.
Carlene Clavel, District 3, Woman of the Year.
Go see the cows and we can go see our fruit trees.
Yeah.
Helen and Steve Percy are a team, together in the cattle business for over 60 years.
I'm Helen Percy. My husband and I have long had cow-calf operation that we have less say and less voice in now. Our nephew leases the ranch from us, so we end up being the fill-in, the take up the slack is the term we generally use. When Charlie needs a little extra help, we pitch in and help.
Starting in California and for the last 28 years here in Idaho, Helen has been a cattle rancher. But in the beginning,
I grew up 2 miles from the ocean in Southern California. I knew where the good tide pools were and knew how to catch a wave and body surf. And so no, I had absolutely no experience before we started out this adventure.
Then while in college, she met a cowboy named Steve Percy.
My husband was born in the cattle business. He likes to say he's one of the few people who ever went broke before he was born. His grandfather had given his folks a cow for the baby, and the cow died before he was born, so he was in the cattle business before he was born and out of it before he was born. Well, I graduated from UCLA, but we were going to school at UC Davis.
Oh, okay.
And then we had a pair of twins, premature twins, in the middle of the spring semester. And
with twin babies and persistence, Helen finished school with a teaching degree.
Yeah, I taught school down in Bruno. Did Title I, reading, primarily reading for kids who needed a little extra help with reading. But yeah, and I loved it.
It was the same persistence Helen, Steve, and ranching partner Charlie Lyons applied to bring about the birth of rural fire protection associations in Idaho.
What was happening wasn't working well. The BLM and the ranchers were at odds, and that can't work well. There are a lot of things that if you just stay with it and manage to be not too noisy about it, but persistent, just hang in there. Sooner or later, you catch the ear of the person who in fact can help make it happen.
This surfer girl converted to a cowgirl loves the ranch life.
Ranch life is a good life. It's been a good life for us, good life for our kids.
In a letter, husband Steve best describes what makes wife Helen Percy a great choice for Woman of the Year. It reads, Helen is the ideal ranch wife. She will drop everything and make a run to the vet for medicine. She will work in the corrals all morning, leave 15 minutes early, and serve a delicious meal to the crew. She is willing to help any time of the day or night to feed, check heifers, or pull a calf. And she still says she loves me. Her husband of 60 years. Helen Percy, District 4 Woman of the Year. On the outskirts of Cottonwood, Idaho, in the house with the crooked fence, you will find this year's District 5 Woman of the Year.
Our address used to be the house with the crooked fence. I just put crooked fence, Cottonwood, Idaho. Our ground goes all the way up to the highway and where it curves down toward the monastery. It's about 300 acres right here.
Cheryl Nuxel and husband Felix raise a little bit of everything.
We raise grain, mostly wheat, peas, lentils, things like that. A lot of hay, sell a lot of hay to the Forest Service, and then about 50 head of beef cattle.
Felix, tell me what you got going on in here.
Well, I'm going to see the winter canola for the first time, so I'm trying to figure out how to adjust my combine to get between 3.5 and 4.5 pounds of seed down. And then I have to plug half the openers. And like I say, it's a new experience for me to see the winter canola. But with the way the spring was, it's a crop I decided to try this year.
As mom to 6 kids raised on a farm, Nuxel has lived her childhood dream.
I always wanted to marry a farmer rancher. I just never thought it would happen. And it did happen, and because I wanted to raise my family on a farm because of the opportunities, the work opportunities, the chores, the being with nature, and which is so crucial anymore. The children love the farming.
A devout Catholic, Cheryl finds her quiet time in prayer, her garden.
I'm famous for my kohlrabis, which are those, and my cabbages and my cucumbers. I'm getting on.
Okay.
Tiny strip, tiny.
And horseback riding.
I never really learned to ride until I was about 40, and but we had kids in horse 4-H. They won a lot of awards, and so I ended up helping them a lot, and I enjoy riding.
As a former Idaho State Senator, Cheryl Nuxel says she's a good fit for Farm Bureau.
Since I've been in the legislature, I feel that I have a little bit more experience. I really liked going down to the delegate convention and giving input and voting on the policy for Farm Bureau. And so right now I see that as probably a part of where I'd be directly involved. And I was so impressed because of what their ability to influence laws in legislature and to give their grassroots opinions and to influence that. And it was so faith-filled, family-oriented, morally oriented. I was just so impressed, and I'm just really very glad to be part of the Farm Bureau.
Cheryl Nuxel, District 5 Woman of the Year.